Welcome to the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, where wealth meets legacy. Join your host, Tim Fergestad, as we explore the journeys of Phoenix's finest to success and beyond.
Hello, this is Tim Fergestad. Thank you for joining us. I'm very pleased to have Howard Polansky with me here today. After 16 years of practice, he now helps dentists reduce burnout and regain career happiness through a better financial system. Welcome to the show, Howard.
Thank you, Tim. How are you?
Things are good. Things are good. It's November when we're recording this here in Phoenix, Arizona, and the weather's awesome finally. So it's things are good here. It's football season. We just got through Halloween, so things are good. Howard, why don't you back up a little bit and why don't you talk a little bit about your dental practice and how you sort of freed up your day and transitioned into what you do now?
Yeah, well, let me hit kind of in the middle of the story. And I just tell people now, sometimes life leaves you little clues and other times life hits you with a 2x4. My 2x4 moment was Sunday morning, Memorial Day weekend, 2018. Jaden, my older son, was 12 years old. I'm sitting next to his bed. He realizes I'm there and he says, "Dad." His voice is barely above a whisper. "Yeah, buddy." I lean over the bed. I put my ear over his mouth to make sure I can hear him. And he says 3 words I'll never forget. "Am I dying?" 12 days earlier, Jaden came home with a stomach ache. 3 days after the stomach ache, we're in the ICU at the Children's Hospital having emergency surgery. It was appendicitis that turned septic.
Oof.
29 days in the hospital, 19 of them in the ICU, 8 straight days of sedation because he went to the operating room 5 times. After they take the tube out of his throat, they give him methadone and morphine to bring him down from the drugs he was on. Imagine your child looks like a heroin addict coming down from a high, and the very first question they will only ask you, "Am I dying?" My first breath was, did I hear him correctly? My second breath was, do not lose it right now. I look him in the eyes. I tell him, "No, you're not dying. You've had prayers from thousands of people all around the world, and you're going to be just fine." He looks at me. He knows I'm telling him the truth. He closes his eyes to get more rest. I walk outside the room, and I broke. I was already miserable. I was burnt out from dentistry, which I practiced for 16 years, but I was taking it out on everyone around me. But when I broke, only one thought seared into my mind. If life is this fragile and I'm unhappy with the path that I'm on, burn the ships. It's over. That's what I did. Sold my practice, September 2018, walked away, have not picked up a handpiece since.
Okay. An inciting incident like that will do it. And that's got to be scary, right? Because that's what you're trained in, your bread and butter. Did you get a lot of resistance from everyone else trying to do that?
So when I came back, of course, patients were just like, "How can you?" I was only 42 at the time. And then I shared the story, what happened, and the only answer they could give is, "God bless you, and hope you find happiness." And I was already miserable and was thinking about selling my practice anyway, prior to, and I hate to say this was just the nice, easy bow of a story to now get out without having to answer any of the other questions around it.
Right.
I don't wish what my family had to go through on anyone. That's not the way to make a transition. And it is not the smart way to do it financially. So not the way that I approve of anyone else doing it moving forward. It's just the way that I had to do it. I just had to make a clean break and just say, volume one of my life is over. I have no idea what volume two is going to look like, but the only way that volume two can be created is that I just need complete blank space. And this was the only way I knew how to do it.
Okay. Okay. I think there's a lot of people who can probably understand that they didn't have the inciting incident of something like a near death experience or just a sick family member, but having the burnout in your industry. I know a lot of physicians and dentists, orthodontists, optometrists, right? And it's a grind. You run your own shop, and everything can be extra hard. And it's a golden handcuff scenario, right? They feel trapped in some ways, and they don't always know how to get back on top of it and control of it. Talk about the process and the transition to where you're at now and how you're helping people now.
Yeah, I don't want to forget one thing, Tim, because I know
Sure.
someone's going to hear this and it's like, what happened to your son? Is he okay? And the
Oh,
answer is yes. Thankfully, everything worked out fine. At the time we're recording this, he's 20, he's in college, he's healthy, he's taller than me, he's better looking than me, and he has more hair than both of us combined. Um, so in that transition, I was sitting with another dentist over lunch who asked the obvious question of how are you walking away? Because I know a lot of people who are in, your group, Tim, you're around a bunch of physicians and probably dentists and maybe some attorneys, and they all have debt, all of
mhm.
them in some way, shape, or form, whether it's student loans, house, practice loans, whatever it is. What I didn't know when this guy asked me that question is that he was going through a double divorce. Not only was he getting divorced from his spouse was also a dentist and owned the practice 50-50.
Ah,
So money was bleeding out of every orifice possible. But again, I had no idea when he asked me this, but I made one dumb comment which changed everything for me. I told him I kind of figured out how to make money move. Now, he gave me that Scooby Doo look. I tried to explain things that day. Frankly, I didn't do a good job. But a few weeks later, I get the next statement in the mail for my house payment. I take a picture of it and I literally sent it to him as a joke. And I said, hey, take a look at this. My house payment was $24.19. And all he can write back is, I see it. I still don't understand what you're doing that you got a $24 house payment. I'm buying a condo next month. Will you teach me? I guess so. Well, he paid off that condo in 8 months
wow.
instead of 30 years. And so he tells his business partner, I tell a friend of mine what happened. They become the next two people I teach. And all of a sudden, my heart opens up where I finally listen. And it says, the way you're going to make an impact in this world, it's not dentistry. The way you're going to make an impact is by teaching people what I call the new rules of finance and the system around it so that they can get to their freedom sooner. That's why we're talking right now, Tim.
Okay. Okay. And so it happened organically, just naturally working through the processes of playing with the different debt vehicles and lines of credit that are available. And okay. So for our listeners whose interest is now piqued, you want to go ahead and explain the different systems that you like to teach people and how they can get ahead financially, particularly on their debt.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So Tim kind of alluded to it is that it's utilizing lines of credit in a very strategic fashion. And the most common example of a line of credit is a credit card. All right. So it is an open-ended tool that money is flowing through. So let's just imagine you called up a bank, you get approved for a $10,000 limit. You charge $3,000 of goods and services. At the due date, if you don't pay the 3,000 off, you still have $7,000 available in the line. Now I call that availability access to cash. But once you pay the 3,000 off, you have the full $10,000 available again. So
Mhm.
you have this tool that money is flowing through versus your mortgage. and I'm assuming most people that are going to be listening to this are homeowners. You make that payment, it's a one-way street. The money
Yep.
goes in and you can't get it back out.
Yep.
But now there's a way in terms of breaking open that titanium safe so that now when you do put the money in, you can literally have access to it the next day. And that's the whole magic to the system, is that while we're waiting for an opportunity to arise, and Tim, I know you're in multifamily. These last couple of years, there just have not been deals. Well, while we're waiting, if we can pay down the debt, lower out the total amount of interest that we have to pay, but know that when Tim brings another deal to us, because it's been so long, and he's like, finally, it now makes sense to invest. Where do we get the money from? We get it out of the line of credit, and then we know how to pay ourselves back again. So we just use this as kind of you can call it an emergency fund. I call it an opportunity fund. While we're waiting, we pay down the debt. As soon as something comes up, strike, pull the money out, pay it down again, strike again. And that's how we play the game.
Okay. Now, I like helping people find sources of funds so they can invest with us. But let's break down why they would want to do this for them, right? How they can accelerate their debt payoff through this sort of process.
Sure. So we have to look at this in terms of, because some people are going to be like, I thought lines of credit had a higher interest rate than my 3% mortgage.
Okay.
The answer is yes.
For our investors, I think just let's pre-frame this a little bit more, maybe, or our listeners and viewers. There's different types of debt, right? That's what you're going to get into is amortizing long-term debt versus simple interest debt.
Correct.
That's kind of the at the heart of this. Is that right?
That is correct. So when you have a mortgage, what you are trying to do, or what the bank is trying to do, is have, if it's a 30-year mortgage, 360 convenient payments that fit within your income. But the problem is that payment does not change. 30 days later, it's the exact same payment. And so you have no flexibility. You have no wiggle room. It's that payment or you lose your house. But when we're utilizing a line of credit, the only thing that we owe is just the interest that's accrued that month. All right. And so let's bring this down to a simple example. Let's pretend that you had a car. It was a $400 monthly payment. It's at a 0% interest rate, and you still had $12,000 remaining on the balance. So we would have 30 monthly payments to go. But again, that $400 is fixed every 30 days. Now we have a line of credit in place in this example. It's $30,000 in size. If we utilize the line of credit, they will charge us at a 10% interest rate. And so for this example, what I tell someone is we're going to move the balance of $12,000 onto the line of credit.
Even if it's at a higher interest rate.
Yes. Okay. Your warning bells are already going off. You're jumping on me here.
Right.
All right. So step one is that $400 payment goes away. But Tim, as you alluded to it, as probably every person that's listening to this is like, wait a second. It was at a 0% interest rate. Now, not only am I paying interest, it's at a high interest rate. Why in God's name would I do this? The reason why is that you don't pay an interest rate. You pay a payment. So even though you had a 0% interest rate, that did not mean zero payment. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so with a line of credit, the only thing that you owe is just the interest that's accrued. So a $12,000 balance that stays at $12,000 for 30 straight days at a 10% interest rate. The only thing that you owe is $100. And so if it was a tight month, Tim, for whatever reason, which would be easier to pay moving forward? 400 or 100?
Sure. It's nice to only pay one and have the extra 300 to deal with things that might come up.
Right. Okay, so we increase our cash to $300 a month. Now, to be able to understand the rest of this in terms of, well, how do we pay this off? The two-sentence answer is our line of credit now becomes our checking account. Is that we are going to move all of our money into the line of credit to crush the balance of the debt down and lower the amount of interest we're charged on a daily basis. And then when our expenses come due, that's when we take the money out of the line of credit. So instead of having this very slow curve with a 30-year mortgage, you would see this bounce around in terms of the daily debt balance that remains in the line of credit. But by doing it this way, and with the anticipation of the people that are listening to your podcast that they're higher income earners, that excess cash flow is just crushing the debt far faster. And so you're potentially taking years, potentially decades of payments away, that now all of a sudden you have this extra cash flow, you have this extra opportunity fund, and now we get to play the game.
Right. And I think this may be hard for some people to visualize, but it's not debt consolidation in the traditional way they might be thinking about it. And there's some trick of doing that. It's not at all. It's the power of simple interest, frankly.
Correct. Yep. It's simple interest against amortized debt. And so it's hard to conceptualize. I have a 15-minute video that we can add as a link after the podcast if people want to watch this in action and how it works. It explains the concept in this our car payment example. It explains that concept all the way through. Right. And it's worth a 15-minute watch.
Yes, I have. There's a physician I know in California who just was doing something very similar to this and didn't realize how powerful it was, particularly when you scale multiple sort of different loans together. Can you sort of talk about that? They were surprised at how effective it was. It's not just like if it was just one car payment, yes, it works, but it works even better if you have multiple things you can consolidate in that fashion.
Yeah, it's so one example is now most of the people that I help are dentists because of my past. And there was one dentist that reached out to me. I'm always looking at all of the debt, practice, your business and your personal, because to me, it's a flywheel. If we can help the business, where's the extra money going to? It's going to your personal life for you to invest wherever you want. I don't tell people where to invest. I just want to free up the money so that you can invest wherever you feel comfortable doing it. So one dentist reached out, a bunch of business debt, some personal debt. She's like, oh, this one business debt is going to be done in 12 months. And I'm like, well, in the same 12-month time period, we can be done with that, your 2 cars, the big equipment debt, which is $8,000 a month, and your house, all in 12 months and free up $220,000. And her only question back was, does that mean I can go from 4 days a week to 3? And I'm like, my God, I hope so. I mean, We're freeing up like $18,000 a month in cash flow that she's already done the work for. It's just that money that's sitting as profit in the business, it was literally siphoned off to fix debt payments that is not going to be there anymore. It's now in her pocket that she can do whatever she damn well pleases.
Right. And this is particularly, high income earners who've had to prolong much of their living into their 40s, right? And they're living off of debt and student loan debt and everything are particularly prone to this, right? Because they have, it's not just lifestyle creep. I think it's delay, right? And it's you have the higher income coming in, so you want to live while you can. You start financing this and that and car payment and student loans and your house and whatever else. But go ahead and talk a little bit more about the advantages people have seen, maybe.
Yeah. So, I'm thinking in terms of the advantages. So different dentists, different couple, they had their primary home, they have a vacation home, they've got their business, and we were able to get multiple lines of credit. So it's not just a credit card. It's not just on your house. In this case, we were able to use two houses, get two lines of credit there, get a third line of credit on the business. And I never even ventured into it, but let's just say that they had a stock portfolio, with mutual funds in Google and Amazon and Microsoft stock. We could get a line of credit on that also. It's not, you can't do it with 401ks and IRAs. Those are retirement accounts. So we're talking an after-tax brokerage account. The fancy term is called an asset-based line of credit or a securities-based line of credit. But here's another common one, which a lot of your clients might have, is an insurance-backed line of credit.
Yep. We have one of those.
That if you have a permanent policy known as a whole life or an IUL policy, if you have overfunded it, there is what's known as cash value in that policy, you essentially have a line of credit. I mean, that's what it is. You take a policy, and so let's bring it back to Tim's world, because this is probably the way that you've been doing it. You've got X amount of dollars in that policy, an investment opportunity comes out, you take a chunk out, it's accruing at simple interest, and you have to pay that interest or it's going to accrue within the loan, but you have flexibility in terms of paying that back. And then when that goes full cycle, you get the funds back, you pay it back. And now what can you do? You've recharged that life insurance line of credit to be able to use it again.
Yep.
Same thing, same concept. It's just that I'm bringing it down to now the daily or monthly cadence versus just waiting only for investments.
Right. So do you have any sort of basic numbers for how much like an average person with, $50,000 of debt can save doing this in a 12-month span? Is there a way to work that out, or is it too tricky?
It's a little bit too tricky just because I need to know what the payment size is compared to the debt. But here's what I can share with you.
Okay.
The average amount of interest saved for my clients has been over $180,000, money staying in their pocket versus going to a bank. And the cash flow improvement in the first 12 months of learning the system for those that are business owners has been over $65,000. That has ranged from as little as $15,000. The largest so far has been $290,000 in a 12-month time period. For those that are W-2 employees, it has been closer to about $38,000 in the first 12 months. So, and I know if it's someone that's a doctor, that's a W-2, that's going to be a little bit of a different realm. But for the average US worker, would having an extra $3,000 a month in your pocket that you didn't have to work any harder for, would that make a meaningful difference on a month-to-month basis?
Right.
For most people, yeah.
Yep. So one final question before we move on to sort of what to do with such things and the different philosophies in investing and so forth. A lot of this is paying off that amortizing debt sooner, right? Which you're arbitraging that against putting that money elsewhere into some other sort of investment. But again, to your point, having the option is the first step, right? Is setting it up so you can even make those decisions. Otherwise, you don't even have that option.
Correct. Yeah. And so let me bring this back to kind of just making up some numbers here, because there's probably a little bit, I know as you're trying to ask that question, Tim, you're just like, but you have to invest. Like, you can't just pay off debt. And the answer is, you're correct. Like, just even if you're debt free, it does not mean you're expense free. All right. So what I'm trying to be is the defensive coordinator for the people that say, I want you to help me with this. You still need an offensive coordinator. Let Tim be your offensive coordinator. How do we take that extra money that goes into investments and grow it for a future? Because we know we can't work forever. Okay.
Right.
But look, it's football season right now. There are times that you have the offense out on the field, and there's times
Right.
that you have defense out on the field, and you need both. Okay.
Yep.
So that's the way that I want you to understand this, is that it's not an either or, it's an and both. And so, with that, it's just I don't even know where I was trying to go with this. And
I like the
what you even
analogy
asked
because
me.
and I would stress. I mean, defense wins championships. You really need to you need to stop the bleeding first. That's, I think, generally the best medical advice and financial advice. To start with that.
Yeah, that's true. I do remember now where we're going with this. All right. So let's just say, Tim, you got approved for $1 million loan for property, and they told you the payment was $200 a month. Would you put all of your time, attention, and energy to try and pay that loan down?
No.
No. It is a very small payment compared to a ton of leverage that they gave you for that loan.
Right.
Okay. And so this is how we have to look at things. It's just like, what's the payment compared to the size of the loan? Now, if it was a $30,000 monthly payment on $1 million loan, now Tim is like, how the heck do I get rid of this $1 million loan? Because I'll free up 30,000 a month in cash flow. So this is the way that I am looking at things. So there are times that the best investment is getting rid of that debt payment.
Right.
And there's going to be other times that, no, keeping that debt is the right thing to do. As much as it might annoy you, there is a better opportunity to earn more somewhere else.
Right. Right. And again, a sort of little Cliff Note summary on that point is, some things, might be better, but even if you're taking a lower interest loan or two into a higher interest, simple interest account, may not seem intuitive. It can be a real financial boon.
100%. Yeah. So, I mean, and that's the thing, is that when you're someone that likes to look at numbers and see this, that's just what I'm coming back to, is like, do you want to pay $6,000 a month, or do you want to pay $700? Like, you tell me. I mean, I'd rather have a higher interest rate, but no, I only have to pay $700 and have an extra $5,300 sitting in my pocket just in case.
Right. And you can right before you get paid next, you can pay it off or not, and all that stuff. It's
100%.
Great.
Yep.
Great to have the control, the options in control.
That's it.
So we're talking about financial success today and righting any ships in that sense, but in the future, can you talk, Howard, a little bit about your plans growing your financial freedom in the future?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's always just this management in terms of, while if I don't see anything that resonates with me in terms of an opportunity to invest, I personally just keep paying down my debt. And then there will be times, there will be a time that it will be ready to strike. And it's at that point, I have built up the war chest.
Right.
And I know how to pay it back. That's the whole key to this. And that's the level one. I'm always telling people, look, I have to use the idea of getting to debt free as just a North Star. I'm not telling you that we ever have to get there. I actually encourage people not to get there. That there's going to be times that you've just got to invest, and there's going to be a fat pitch that just comes right down to you, is like, I got to be an idiot not to invest in this thing. All right,
you got to take a swing.
You got to take a swing, but the money is there and it's already available, versus now scrounging around and then all of a sudden the opportunity's gone. We're basically reversing the order. You've been pre-approved by having the line of credit there first, and then waiting for the opportunity to arise. And you just don't have to feel as stressed in terms of like, I got to keep going. I have to keep growing and growing and growing to outrun my lifestyle. It's like, no, if we can drop the expenses down, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't have to run as hard.
Right. Right.
And I get to live exactly the same way.
Okay. I feel like we should just circle back real quick and just address what a permanent life insurance plan is and offers compared to term life. Just for people or listeners who may not be familiar. I mean, a lot of people like Dave Ramsey and some simple advice is like get term and invest the rest, right? Whereas once you reach a certain point, you have higher income and other sort of retirement plans. Having a whole life policy like I have, it can be incredibly beneficial because you do have these options as well as tax-free access later for the retirement and other benefits. But this line of credit is particularly useful. Can you maybe just do a quick summary for people so they know what the difference is between the different types of
Yep.
insurance?
Yeah. So term is exactly what it sounds like. It is for a period of time. And so if you get a 30-year term, you have life insurance for those 30 years. If you die at 30 years and 3 days, your family's SOL. I mean, it was outside of the term. Is it cheap? Yes. Is it necessary in terms of for that time period where you have a growing family? 100%. It just makes a ton of sense to have that in place. And if you are looking at investments like this, if you're an accredited investor, if you are earning, the top five, hold on, 10% is around 180,000. If you're the top 5% of household incomes, which is about 280 to 300,000 or more, having a portion of your estate in permanent life insurance, I think makes sense because what you're doing is you have to save your money somewhere. And this is something that can have multiple functions, which is hard to appreciate until you finally get into it because the what you are going to be financing, you're going to be putting your money in some vehicle, whether it's a checking account, a savings account, or a life insurance policy. And I'm not here to poo-poo Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman. I understand why they're saying like don't do permanent life insurance. But again, if you're in the top 5%, different story. And here's the reason why. If you only look at the first couple of years and you're looking at this from an investing lens, you're 100% correct because there is the cost of insurance that's kind of front loaded on this thing where you're like, why would I ever do this? The thing is that you are going to have money coming through your life for your entire life. And when you can start to look at the other end of this 10, 20, 30 years down the road, Tim, I don't know about you, if how long you've had a policy. I've had a policy now for 13 or 14 years. Okay. The way that mine was designed, I can only put in now $3,200 a year. Last year, my cash value grew over 30,000. So, yes, it stinks on the front end. And it's not an investment, it's a savings vehicle that has other tools that are built into it once you finally understand what's going on with it.
Right. It's
It's
not very
one of them
aggressive.
being right. Yeah, it's not. That's the thing. If you think of it as an alternative to your bond, if you're going to go
Mhm.
back to the Wall Street way in terms of a 60-40 split or 70-30 split, just replace the life insurance with the fixed income. That's the easiest way to do it because what do life insurance companies invest in? They invest in the fixed income. And so now you have this cash that is in this cocoon that can grow tax deferred, that you can pull out tax free when you need to, and you can cycle it to do these investments and then replace the money as it keeps growing. And that very high level is what a life insurance policy is.
Okay. I've sometimes explained it as term life is life insurance you rent, and permanent life or whole life is something you buy, right? You pay more for it, but it never goes away. You don't
That's true.
age
Yep.
out of it. Um, okay, Howard. As we wrap things up, I have a legacy question. A couple of questions. Have you done anything the last 12 months that has changed your life?
12. So Jaden, the older one that got sick, I don't think I told you. I was in the Navy. I was stationed in Japan. 12 last Christmas and New Year's, I took my family to Japan, went all the way back to the base that he was born at,
Oh,
found the doctor is still practicing 20 years later, and just had that was my one bucket list thing that I just wanted to get done, was to say I got my kids back to Japan so they could see in terms of what I was able to experience.
oh,
And I
cool.
was like, if I died the next day, I would have been complete.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for sharing. That sounds very special.
It was fantastic.
All right. So, uh, okay, here's another sort of wrap up reflection question. What do you wish you knew sooner about building wealth or success earlier in your career? I think we've hinted at it through your journey here, but
Yeah, well, number one is that I should have listened to my heart, not to my head. I would have never become a dentist. Number two is I wish I knew this concept when I was my kid's age, because that would completely change the trajectory in terms of how I thought, how you can make money move through your life and
right,
create this way of efficiency that no one is going to teach us. Banks are certainly not going to teach you, because you're literally stealing money from them. They would have zero desire to share this with you.
right,
So I have to.
right. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Howard, if people want to learn a little bit more, they can find you, I think, online and LinkedIn, but you also have a cash flow quiz they can go check. We'll put that in the show notes. Is there anything
Yeah,
else?
we'll share that 15-minute clip so
Oh,
people can
yes.
kind of see, yeah, people can kind of see how this works, and then a real life example of a dentist in terms of changing the payment on one of their loans. And then the cash flow quiz. It's a 3-minute tool. It's my gift to you in terms of 12 simple questions. You get a score in terms of how optimized are you with your cash flow. And if you're just like, you know what, I'd love to see what this guy can do, please reach out. There's no cost for us to chat. Um, and just to see what the potential is in terms of the amount of years that you can save in terms of time and the cash flow that could be freed up in the next 12 months. I just love what I do now, Tim. And I'm hoping that that came through our podcast today.
Yes, I think it did. It's freedom's powerful, man. That control over your life and your finances is a big part of mitigating stress for a lot of us.
100%.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening and watching. Thank you very much, Howard Polansky, for joining us today and sharing your insights into the moving money. Thank you.
Thanks.
Inspired by our guests? Visit phoenixprosperitypodcast.com/guest and join us on the show and share your success story with Tim. The spotlight awaits.